From deep behind the enemy lines of FEMA Region 3, you're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com.
Episode 59 of the Powder Monkey Podcast. Today we have Aaron Morse on with us. Aaron is he's an artist. He is an entrepreneur. He is a victim of censorship through this fascist system that we have now. Aaron's a lot of things, but he's also the driving force behind Braintree Studios. His art was recently featured on, the American Journal, and I believe Owen Schroyer was fairly impressed with his work as well. Alex Jones. So we're going to talk about some of that. Aaron hooked me up with. I'm a collector myself. I've mentioned it before on my show. So Aaron hooked me up with some 1/18th scale figures, and we'll get into that as well. But Aaron, welcome to the Powder Monkey Podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. This has been quite a bit of a labor to make happen, but the second time is going to be a charm. The New World Order is not going to stop us, or my crappy connection. I don't know what it was, but welcome to the Powder Monkey Podcast. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me again. So I'm a graphic designer by trade, but jack of all trades. I do taught myself how to do 3D design, to do illustration, t-shirts, video. You run the gamut. I pretty much do it. So.
Sure. Yeah, man. And anybody who, everybody should check out his site. He has some very, very interesting apparel up there, things to get the conversations and the thoughts started, and really that's what it's all about nowadays, especially in the info war. And I forgot to mention that you're an info warrior as well, man. I guess we talked a little bit before, with you had mentioned that. Well, let's start here. Let's maybe start here. I'd like to ask all my guests this. That epiphany moment, I know you kind of covered it yesterday, but you lost a lot when you became red-pilled or white-pilled or whatever pill we're taking nowadays. But so tell everybody a little bit about that epiphany moment. What made you realize that, hey, something's not right, something's going on, and we'll go from there.
Recently, or in the world, like back in the day?
Well, let's just start with back in the day, and then we'll get a little further into it, because things have gotten really crazy since. But
so
go ahead.
I guess like back in the day. So my mom, she was diagnosed with cancer when I was around like 13, and she was going through all the rigmarole with chemo and all that type of stuff, which led her to become a cancer specialist when she was all clear. At one of the hospitals locally, and she was always into holistic medicine and all that type of stuff, but getting to be the cancer specialist at a hospital and seeing up close and personal the way hospitals treat cancer, and she was like, this is all about the money. They're just like they'll do these fundraisers, but it's just to buy t-shirts and donuts and all this, and like they're never coming up with a cure. So there was always that kind of what would you say, like corruption in the systems that we have that we're supposed to trust. So I kind of grew up with that skepticism like throughout my entire life, because my mom's very like book smart and street smart for the most part. And a conspiracy theorist, she'd always say, like, if you see it on a movie or a TV show, it exists. They just haven't shown it to you. And that's how I came into the Alex Jones type of stuff, where like around 2008, when Ron Paul was running for office with the N the Fed and stuff, and then I guess his interview on Alex Jones, and he was saying the same stuff, like, oh, we're 40 years out before more than what we know, kind of things. So like, oh, he knows. So that got me into all of his stuff, and it was great coming up with like YouTube in the old days, because you could search any topic and put in Alex Jones next to it, and he interviewed like the top heads of their in the field, the scientists, the news reporters, the the whistleblowers, and you could learn about anything. It was great. That's when conspiracy theorists were not relegated to like the 5-second TikToks that you get to see now.
Sure. Yeah.
Full on documentaries.
And the thing with the that, I mean, the slippery slope, we sort of talked about that before, but the slippery slope, you mentioned all those all those Alex Jones clips, all those not just clips, but all that footage is gone. I mean, just completely wiped, and they have the technology to actually find his voice online and erase it. That's not something that they've actually. Well, I mean, they may have, but it's not something that's actually actively talked about or known. But they do have that, and so it is a it's a slippery slope. They the conspiracy. I think it is so ridiculous that we still talk about conspiracy theory and this and that. I mean, he's. The majority of the time nowadays, it's not some David Icke, lizard people. It's here's the documents. Here's where they said they're going to do it. Here's the plans. Here's where they ran it. Here's the people that did it. It was a conspiracy one time that there was no world secret meeting where everybody came together. And now we know about the Bilderbergs. We know about the WEF. The Trilateral Commission. So, yeah, man, I mean, it's just been there. And, you and I, as we grew up, I'm probably about 10 years older than you, probably 12 years older than you. But, we grew up, I think, in a very gifted way, because we kind of, it was ingrained into us as people who followed the superhero storylines and the paradigms and we kind of saw the light in the dark, and when you see somebody speaking with an Austrian accent talking about how everybody's going to eat bugs, you kind of knew that guy was maybe not on the up and up.
And I just watched Lethal Weapon 2 recently, and like, holy crap, they they nailed
the dude. Yeah. We talked about this before, and I was on the American Journal. I did a call in. We talked, and this was before it, really got out that, hey, they're putting it in the food. I called in, spoke with Harrison Smith. We talked about all the, predictive programming in movies, and I'm just sitting down with my wife, and you can't really run from this once you see it either. I mean, you can't unsee it. It's one of those things you can't unsee, but there they are. I'm just happily watching Logan, and they get to the point where, his swan song. And the villain of with the Reavers, and everybody, all these advanced techno humans that are all tied in. And how did they kill the most powerful beings walking on this planet, in flesh and blood? Well, they killed them with food, and I can see if they were eating at McDonald's all the time, but they altered their food, and that killed them. And what are they doing to us now? So
it's getting super
I don't think
scary.
Is it life imitating art, or is it art imitating life? That's the.
I'm at this point with how advanced everything's gotten in the satanic agenda, I guess you could say. It's full on. That was the battle plan, and they're just running with it. And they're like, oh, here's a little inkling of what's coming, like, for sure, just to kind of prep you mentally for it. But it's to the point where you're gonna have to talk to your friends who like raise chickens and all that type of stuff. Like, oh, I'm talking to my friends, like, I may need two, like, at least for now.
Right. And the sad thing is if you look at what they're doing with, pretty soon your friends aren't going to be able to raise chickens. They're going to have so much red tape that they're going to have to jump through. Are they vaccinated? I mean, I don't know if you know the whole chicken vaccine thing, but my God.
Disease.
Well, yeah, and was Bill Gates not behind that funding as well? It's insane. So you mentioned friends. Moving a little bit further, and down the timeline. Here we are in 2023 now. You've mentioned that you've lost a lot of friends because of, and it's not even really at this point activism. It's more like self-preservation. It's like saying, "Hey, there's a damn fire in the theater, and you got to get out."
It's been really strange for sure. When this whole thing kicked off, I was working at one of the bigger sunglass companies in the world. Like basically, you go into Walmart, that's their sunglasses.
Right.
All that product comes from China and Italy. So, you've had salespeople go over there. They come back and they'd come back with a cold, and it ripped through our office in December, November, January, like wildfire. And I'm old school Alex Jones from like 2008, so I had my bag of Tangerine ready to go like whenever it gets sick. So like I started drinking that, and it did not touch it whatsoever. So
right,
I was getting the fever up and down for at least 2 weeks, and I went to the doctor. I'm like, this thing is like Black Plague level, like this is not normal. And they're like, oh, it's probably viral, nothing we can do. And then 3 months later they came out and shut everything down. I'm like, that's probably why I couldn't taste my Taco Bell. But so I wasn't too worried about it because I had already knew that I kind of had this thing because it was that bad. And then they started rolling out the restrictions of like, you can't go out. And I'd go to CVS and everyone's all starting to mask up, and you could feel the thin veil of, society kind of in the air. I'm like, oh man, I should probably start carrying a gun or something at this point.
Yeah.
But then you had talk to the vaccine and everything like that. And that's one of the major things that kind of divided everyone for sure around, I'm in Rhode Island, so everything's very liberal for the most part. And I'm, like I said, old school. I can see the writing on the wall, conspiracy theories. I've already seen this plot in several different movies, We got Alex Jones showing the documents from years ago with like Merrick disease with the chickens, and just giving you the vaccine over and over again until you become just a big blob of cancer.
Exactly.
But then you have your friends on Facebook being like, oh, all these conspiracy theories not bringing us back to normal, and they think there's nanochips in the vaccine. I'm like, well, actually no. And then I'd send them like a paper or a video of Ryan Cole saying, well, no, it causes heart problems and it does this and it does that. Actually, scientific information. And then you get no reply back.
But well, you said scientific information, but you didn't send the science. You got to remember, science. It was no longer science. It was the science.
Yep.
So just like the fascism that we all get to experience every day in every way that we do, and you've experienced that. You've got some pretty, like I said before, thought-provoking teas, kind of like the same things that it's the same mechanism that InfoWars uses for here. I have one here in honor of what we're doing today. I have the InfoWars G.I. Joe logo with because there's a war on for your mind. So
I love that one. I hope they bring that one back. If they bring any T-shirt back, that one's amazing.
I think this is my second one. The first time they sold almost completely out, so I grabbed whatever I could. It was like a 2X, so I gifted that to a friend after I got this one in. And yeah, dude, it's you would. But again, the fascism. It's not a matter of you didn't break any laws. You didn't you didn't single anybody out. You expressed an opinion. You just expressed a thought on a shirt. And depending on who would have released the shirt, it may have been okay, at that point. But talk about some of the things that you've experienced with your entrepreneurship, with your T-shirts, things like that, the pushback and the I don't want to say deplatforming, but that's what it is
So I came up kind of in the Newgrounds era with like Flash animation and things like that. So criticism or like edgy comedy is completely not new to me whatsoever. So I grew up with this heightened parody view of life, so I could see something, kind of make a commentary on it that was exaggerated or truth telling to some degree, So I just always kind of gravitated towards graphic T-shirts, things that I, went from geeky stuff. And, if I'm doing a parody of a Disney or a Marvel property, that'll get taken down, within a couple weeks or so with DMCAs and stuff, which I'm totally used to that for sure. But then once I started seeing all this stuff, I kind of, I do a political shirt every once in a while, but here I was like, one of some of my favorite movies of the time have been like Network and They Live. Like those, I love those movies, 100%. So once I started seeing this stuff with the medical tyranny and all that type of stuff, I started coming out with T-shirts like, the mask being kind of this oppression symbol, and obey written over it, one of the designs, and Plandemic in the background. And that was not allowed, and all the stuff that you saw in the Twitter files and all that type of stuff. I wrote to their legal team saying, like, am I to assume with all these Twitter files coming out that your platform is, being held to the same standards as, by these shadowy agencies telling you to take down this information, which is actually artistic expression. Etsy took down some of my shirts. They said that if I'd posted anything up again, they'd ban me off of Etsy. TeePublic was another one, but they just kind of tell you, your shirt's gone. It's like, sorry. And you can kind of see my latest battle on Twitter, and I think I posted on Instagram too with my correspondence to their legal team, and they said, it violated our rules. And I asked them, what rule did I break so that in the future I don't violate it again? No response for weeks, and I just like every other day, every 2 days, I'd write back, I'm like, following up, and they just basically gave me, because we said so, and we have nothing else to say on the matter. I'm like, sure. Okay, Jesus.
Yeah. And no legal recourse at all, none. Yeah. They just don't like it, so you don't get to do it, and you have no way to go back in. But yeah, go on ahead.
So I mean, luckily I do like a print on demand service through Printable, which then goes to my website. So I've been able to upload there because it's my own personal.com at BraintreeStudios.com, and so far I haven't had any issues like that. But I mean, if people complained, I'm sure they'd go that route like 100% because they're like any other company, and I think they're based out of California, so that's a red flag too, I'm sure.
Yeah. We mentioned yesterday, you mentioned how you lost friends. You mentioned, how everything, the whole paradigm has just sort of changed mentally for people. And, again, they changed. We didn't. We're still the ones looking, saying, hey, we remember, we can see, you talk about Roddy Piper and They Live, but, we have the damn glasses on, and, we can see what's going on. We know that it didn't used to be this way. The more things, again, I guess it's more of an Orwellian aspect to it, the point where, the newspeak, and, I guess you have your 5 minutes of rage every day scrolling through even your Twitter feed, or, you're scrolling and all of a sudden you're watching people fist fighting in school, and you get pissed off about that. And, it's everything that they talked about. Eric Blair, I don't know whether he was licking it or he was another one of those people that were just, one of those crazy psychopaths that, they just have to leave that calling card. They have to talk about what they're going to do before they do it. And, it's just an insane, it's insane that we, actually are living a Marvel plot, and not even a Disney Marvel plot. I mean, actually one where when it was, still Marvel, it actually had some, some decent writing and storyboarding and everything too.
Like with all the stuff that we grew up with like Star Trek, X-Men, and Marvel, all that type of stuff, like it's right there. Like we're literally watching it happen, and all the people are like, oh, I'd fight the Nazis, and all those people, like I'd be that little guy who was standing there with his arms folded while all the other people were, raising their arms to Hitler. And it's like, well, now you know who is not your friends at this point in time. Like, and it's basically everyone around you. It's terrifying.
Did you, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I just happened to watch the DC Reign of the Supermen animation. But it's a really great analogy because Superman, of course, to the world, they think is dead, but you've got this cyborg Superman who sounds like Superman. He looks like Superman. He's mostly technocracy now, and he is technocracy because who's pulling the strings? Well, Darkseid. And he gives this very uplifting speech about the Justice League, how they're gone and so, but he's got the he basically gives the offers whoever wants to form the new Justice League with me, come on, and everybody says, but I don't have powers, and it's like, I'll give you the powers. So he gives them basically a mini mother box. They don't know it. They slap it on their chest and they lose their soul, and then they become these enforcers. And man, it's just I think we've gotten to the point where whether we've made it happen or I don't believe that. I think we're living out prophecy personally, but it's just to actually see it. I had this little old grandma who years before there was an Alex Jones told me all this was coming, and she wasn't a conspiracy theorist. She was a Pentecostal. So
one thing. So we didn't get to touch on this at all. So huge, definitely prophecy seems to be unfolding, and I'm definitely coming to the realization of the Matrix kind of thing. Like, we're living in a simulation for sure. Because around I think it was 2014, around there, when they started kicking up CERN, hardcore Mandela effects on my end. I think I've called into Alex Jones to even talk about it, but I'm like, no, I'll sound like a freaking crackpot. But I'm an art student, so I study logos for a living. I had to do art history classes and all that type of stuff. So that stuff started changing, and commercials started changing. I'm like, that's strange. That's I'd tell people, and they're like, you had faulty memory and all that type of stuff. But then I started hearing about Bible verses changing, and I'm like, well, there's a canary in the coal mine, because if anyone knows anything about memory and citing verses and all that type of stuff, it's the religious people for sure.
Yeah,
100%. So when the
Lion and the Lamb, is that what you're referring to?
Was a major one for sure. All that crazy stuff, and I think there's a verse even saying you'll look for the word of God and you won't find it. I'm like, well, that could be why. That's
an interesting point. I definitely believe people are going to have, if they haven't already formed it, especially when this brain chip thing really kicks into full gear. I don't know how. I mean, I didn't even take the shot, dude. There's no way in hell you're putting a brain chip in me. But it's I really believe that's going to be the point, just like in Reign of the Supermen, where you lose your soul. I mean, I really believe we're at that point where, the Bible talks about, if my people, and Alex talks about it a whole lot, will repent. And, I've even had preachers and pastors on, saying the same things about healing their land. But there's also a point where there's a voice in heaven and it says, come out of them, come out of her, so that you're not a partaker of her sins, basically. And, dude, there's a point. And when we get to that point, woe to anybody who is, it's not, you're not going to be able to rage against the one who's coming then, so I don't know, man. I mean, there's good people who have been persecuted. I got to interview Joe Biggs. He unfortunately, my God, what has occurred to him is just a travesty. And
one of the worst things, as far as Patriots goes, because he's been involved with InfoWars for a while. So just to see him get so railroaded is insane.
Yeah, well, and just I wrote him a letter, and I when he was in there, and when I think it was the War Room or somewhere, they showed his address, and so I wrote him a correspondence, and I just pointed out, it's not a good position he's in, but Paul did his greatest works while he was in prison. His final letters and everything like that, just you can see. And, we're at that point. We mentioned yesterday, how we fight back. And, it's not going to be, you can't overturn this system with guns and things like that. But if you hit people in the wallet, if you refuse to partake in what I would call a beast system, I mean, that's how you do it. That if Etsy is censoring people, don't buy. And I know somebody. I have a friend who has spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You mentioned Captain America. He actually is a Captain America cosplayer, and he is probably the greatest Captain America cosplayer in the world. But he's just spent tons of money on Etsy. Don't drop your money on Etsy. Just like when we first started communicating, I appreciate artists. I appreciate their art. And, if it gets to a point, I think you've done something really ingenious. And it's not, it used to be back in the, late 90s, early 2000s, everything was a .com and it was an address and you went there just like a brick and mortar. Mm-hmm. And then it became, everything was consolidated into this, this social media landscape. And they started being able to push us into the digital ghettos that Matt Drudge talked about. But I think the thing we need to do, and the best way we can break is, just like you've done, put your content on, BraintreeStudios.com, and anything you want to say is there. And unless your host provider, pulls you, which who knows?
Definitely a possibility in the future for sure.
Yeah, but we just have.
When I was listening to Alex Jones, so it was I started in 2008, and it kind of went up until around 2016 when Trump started running, and I kind of fell off the Alex Jones train because he was very much like Trump is the best. We gotta
right.
elect Trump and all that type of stuff. So I fell off for like 2 to 3 years, and then all of a sudden, all that news kicked up where he was starting to get deplatformed. I was like, they're starting to plan something. Like that's right. Definitely that's warning sign flag number 100. We got to friggin' start listening to this guy again.
That's the whole reason you're on this podcast, because this podcast exists because they, in one fell swoop, 5-6 different platforms decided to cut his throat in 1 weekend. And so, that's where Pirate InfoWars was born from. And, before I did a little podcast called the NeoCrusader.com podcast, which was more, towards, protecting Christian, rights and, speaking up for that. And then it just blew up, and it wasn't just, Christian rights. It was just human rights. I mean, which, should be number one with a Christian. First, they always go for your God. Mm-hmm. And then once they break you there, then everything else just crumbles. But, it's insane. But there are heroes. There's heroes, Aaron, and let's talk about some of those. I'm gonna.
During the pandemic, I started watching Alex Jones like crazy. Got let go of my job, so it was all day, every day, seeing the latest news that came out of this pandemic, and I was like, okay, I want to learn 3D modeling and all that type of stuff. So I took the time and was like, okay, who do I want to model first? And Alex Jones, was the guy right there in front of me.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm gonna try this. I ordered a 3D resin printer off of Facebook Marketplace that some dude was selling for like $100, and I just started printing heads, and I came up with this bad Larry right here. With his megaphone and his pointing figure. So I ended up sending that into InfoWars, and I think it's in Alex Jones's office. I think that's what Harrison said it was. So
awesome.
I definitely felt like we needed, the hero of today. Like he is a man who has been persecuted, but he's just trying to do right by friggin' humanity, and no one sees it. And even people I know now, they'll be like, oh, we have a filter on our water because of chemicals and fluoride, or like we didn't buy the new TV because it has microphones. And I'm like, so Alex Jones, and like, you listen to Alex Jones? Like, how do you think you even know this stuff? Like in the zeitgeist of our popular culture now, it's because of him, 100%. So just having like a figure available to me anyway, because I was starting to get into photography of action figures, and like I think I said before, like you had Captain America in the movies, but in real life, Chris Evans is like completely liberal, talking nonsense, and he needs to be spoken to, you know, by Alex Jones. Like, you know, what are you doing? Kind of thing. So I don't know, just it turned into a great idea that's kind of spun off on its own at this point.
It's fantastic. You've had some response with it. Just to back up for a second, you mentioned 3D modeling. What for anybody who's interested in that? What application? What program do you use to did you use to do the 3D modeling?
So I got ZBrush, and then just a lot of YouTube videos was kind of how it is. And once you find, you know, the 2 or 3 tools that you really connect with, whether it be like, you know, you can start off with a circle, and then you can start moving it around, and then there's like a one that's like a divot. It kind of turns into clay start using it. So it easily just kind of snowballs into something you just sink hours and hours of your life into until it looks amazing.
I've played around with Tinkercad a little bit, but I'm still, it's way easier, and with my time, with my schedule, it's just way easier for me to go to somebody like you who has mad skill and just say, hey, can you print this for me? Can you, or who, all these people now, all these just great artists you can get any head you want just about anywhere. So, and it's a great art, man. It's a great pastime, but yeah, you as you started messing with it, the I guess wall thicknesses, that's another printer thing that you have to, the printing, how did you get that all down? I mean,
definitely through trial and error. So
right.
I started printing the heads and selling those on eBay until I can, graduate to a better printer, and then, started doing more heads and more action figures that I would want to see in the world that you don't get to see, like I have here. Oh, there it goes. Like the live action Rick and Morty.
Nice.
There.
Yeah. I was telling my wife about that last night.
So it was just like I'd see all these toys and parts and stuff, and I have an eidetic memory when it comes to like movies and toys and things like that. So I'm like, I could totally use the Doc Brown, paint it blue, rip off the head, right. Do that. And then like I said, one of my favorite movies was They Live. NECA came out with a 8-inch that I can't stand soft good action figures because it makes me feel like I'm dealing with Barbies and stuff like that. So
yeah, I gotcha.
So I started before I even got into the 3D printing, I was doing molding, like with like a rubbery stuff, like
silicone,
fill the cup up and like put the head in there and refill it with plastic, and that was just too tedious. So like, I just wish I could print it at any size that I want. So I ended up creating these They Live figures with
amazing
McFarlane stuff. Also works great with Alex Jones, photos and things like that. Just the more heads I came up with, the more it would go to eBay. I'd get more money to come in, and then especially the Alex Jones stuff, if that sold, I'd immediately go into the InfoWars store, and I'd be stocking up on all my iodines and supplements and things like that. So when I did one of Harrison, I think a year after the Alex Jones one, he was like, "Oh man, is that me?" Like, so I sent it to him, and he did the unboxing, which was like the greatest advertisement ever. I made 3 of each: Alex Jones, Owen, and Harrison, which I didn't want to do Owen at first because he was crapping on, toy collectors as Arrested Development adults. And I was like, that's why if you ever see that episode in the back of the figure where I did the packaging, I didn't have a photo of him. I had a photo of Abraham Lincoln, just like kind of tease him.
That's funny.
But so I did that one. And of course you have to have the, I think, where is it? The beard formula, which I got that one right here.
That is, now I have that one. You did that one for me in 1/18th, and so absolutely amazing.
So I posted that up. Everyone on Twitter, on Harrison's Twitter, was like, "Where's the Jeep? Where's the the tanker truck?" I'm like, "Oh man!" Like I couldn't even fathom even like trying to figure that one out. But you did, man, and I am like thoroughly impressed by this.
So, well, you know what? I almost painted it black, but I have gotten to. So this is from G.I. Joe Retaliation, the movie. So, and I have seen this thing come actually down the street in Richmond. So when I open this, and it's the only one I had, and I just have this rule: I don't kit bash anything that is in my collection. But very soon I'm going to pick one up. The top pops off easily, and it's supposed to have a missile array up here, but of course it doesn't, because that way Alex can get out with his little makeshift megaphone, and so we'll pull Alex, and so I just used the Agent Jones body. I don't know as far as the head goes.
Fortnite Agent Jones, right?
What's that?
Fortnite 18.
Fortnite Agent Jones. Just have to match the skin tone up just a little bit. I probably could have used just a little more red in that, but yeah, man, I'm real happy. He's got the available in the InfoWars store. He's got the InfoWars satellite phone, so he can get in touch with Steve Quayle anytime he needs to, if the grid goes down due to solar flares or Klaus Schwab activity. Just like you had somebody take a dive earlier. Now, Harrison's been in the thick of it, so I used the Marauder body for Harrison. And
Harrison.
What's that?
I said poor monocled Harrison.
Well, for now. But I mentioned to you before, I have a set of glasses off of the Baroness, and so what I'm going to do is take those glasses and just put them on him. But I'm going to do I'm going to just wash him in glow in the dark, so that when the lights are out, sunglasses, Harrison will be still wearing his sunglasses at night. And so, and then I've got right here Owen in the cowboy hat. Let me set this over here. Pull off the hat real quick. So
cowboy hat's great. I'm gonna have to print one up for the 112.
Yeah, it's well, and I mentioned to you yesterday, I have a Gandalf in 1/18. Owen's got he's pouring out the Cuck Light, the last bottle of Cuck Light in the universe. Then they're gonna pull out the 50 cal and do some target shooting with it. So, but that's another agency body from Marauders. I'm gonna get some great shots here of them going against. I've got a ton of stormtroopers, so the Empire will literally be on the run in some of my next upcoming little clips. I'm going to use them as memes and things, to make memes, and really it's just fantastic. It's a fantastic memento to have. It's really great. I really appreciate the like I said, the hookup. Here is the let me pull it out of the baggie here.
Yeah, so Harrison at the time was like, these are getting a great response. Like, would you be able to do like 100 of these? And I was like, oh, not really. Like these are basically like by request art, like exhibits, essentially, like commissions. Everyone's hand painted, printed, sprayed to try and keep the detail and the durability and all that type of stuff. But I am trying to work on some solutions for, something that can be printed or at least semi-mass scaled, because I think studios like toy studios at 5,000 is the minimum if you want to make any kind of toy order, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of I'm trying to do a 3D print of this guy right here, the Alex Jones, kind of G.I. Joe size. Mm-hmm. So if I can figure out how to make it without like the rub and wear that you get with the legs with a 3D print, that's kind of the problems right now. But I even went to Ollie's and picked up my own kind of InfoWars truck to try and see the scale and how that would work. But that would be the way I would go. Plus I was kind of bummed. I was on a Kickstarter for a vacuum former for packaging, and then it turned out to be a scam. So like I almost lost like $300, $400. I'm like, damn it, I need a vacuum former. So
Right. Yeah.
I'll be working on that as the months go on. And what's kind of cool is I don't know if you've seen on they've kind of been advertising on American Journal, the American Liberty Awards that are coming up in Austin. So they reached out to me and they're like, oh, you think you'd be interested in designing or creating a base for the awards because we loved your action figures so much. I'm like, oh, all right, sure, I'll give that a shot. Like, so if that turns out, that'll be great, like for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And again, we as we grew up, we had these things. We were able to act out the, and I want to go back. You mentioned Owen and talking about collectors and things like that. I have a famous PJW tweet with during the Star Wars are for children thing, but and hey, he's entitled to his own opinion. He's from the other side of the pond there, man. And I think they had like cheese and stuff on PBS to watch. I don't think they had the same thing until like Furman started writing Transformers and stuff like that. But anyway, just I had it was right around Christmas, but he was doing the whole Star Wars is for children thing, so I had my spirit of Obi-Wan, spirit of Yoda, and spirit of Anakin, and I said, you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts tonight. And it was just perfect, but, it was great. But, hey, his opinion's his opinion. And,
a family with children to, like, pass all this stuff and information down to?
Well, I mean, and they get to role play. Role play is important. That's how you form your when I had Scott Nylick on, he talked a lot about, play patterns and everything. And they really look at these things, with children. And I agree with Scott because Scott is, he just is a little more blunt. I don't think he cares and he's taken a lot of heat from, a lot of people online over it, but I agree with him. When certain action figures aren't going to sell, and it doesn't matter how good you feel inside. If they are shell formers, it doesn't hit the bottom line. It's just like
I still saw was it Rogue One? What's her name there at Ollie's too, just in the back. by all the Eternals figures.
There'll be Rogue One figures in Ollie's and Big Lots from now till. But it's just one of those things, man. You have to you really have to cater to to your market, and at the same time, parents have to step up a little more, me included. I mean, I'm to the empty nest part. I should have stepped up more, but me and my kids, we got down in the floor and we played. We rolled dice. We had these massive battles. These grand imaginative things, and I think it helped develop my children, and I think it's a good thing. Children need that. They need that in their minds, not even to just to kind of gel who they are, what their personality is. And what's the Bible say? Train up a child, in the way he should go. And when he's young, he won't depart from it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely, man. And it's just a great thing. And
that's definitely one thing. Like, so I came into my wife's daughter's life around age 8 and kind of brought all this geekdom with me. Like,
awesome.
Doctor Who and Star Wars, and it's like, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Like, that kind of stuff. So trying to show her the myths and legends of my generation, essentially. We watch old TV shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and things like that. But before all this race nonsense and everything's a victim and all that type of stuff, it was everyone loved each other. Comedy was comedy. You laughed about each other's differences and you went on as friends. That kind of stuff. She was in a charter school for most of her middle school life and getting like college level kind of grades and comprehension.
Sure.
So they had asked her to create what do you call it, a essay over the summer. I was like, okay, so I think Snowden had been around, that point in time was happening, and I was like, here's 1984, here's Brave New World, like, and she could totally comprehend and read it. I was like, now read both of these and like write an essay on how it reflects today. And
right.
Sure enough, once middle school ended, she wanted to go into public school. And I'm like, okay, like for middle school, high school, like, okay. But she turned in that essay and, you know, got an A and extra credit and all that type of stuff. But over the years, I've slowly been seeing like the influence of the public school system kind of, you know, she's like, why are you listening to Alex Jones? I'm like, you know, what has he ever done for society? I'm like, anything you know about 9/11 is, you know, what he did for society, you know, because she knows all that stuff. She's not immune to like knowing the conspiracies, and she's like definitely undercover based, but she just doesn't know it because of all the propaganda. But then she'll see reality and go, oh, okay, like, yeah, my stepdad was right, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's definitely been, you know, a struggle to kind of break the conditioning of the public school, which is, you know, it's tough.
Especially, you know, I mean, I kind of have, you know, the full spectrum here, you know, in my home, and so, you know, it's sort of a dance from time to time. You have to respect, you know, people's opinions and, you know, everything, but at the same time, you kind of have to say, well, that's you know, bull crap, you know, when you got to just call it out when it's, you know, so you know. It's good that she has you in her life. You know, I think the destruction of the family unit, like I said before, is one of the absolute linchpins. It's one of the tables on the leg. You know, and it's all from you know, just the things we've been conditioned. You know, programming. They're all programs. Even, you know, I happened to watch. My wife, we were at Walmart and she picked up the DVD set, the complete run of G.I. Joe, the old cartoon series. And there's a special feature in it where they're talking about, you know, how they looked at, you know, just how the kids, they didn't just look at how the kids, you know, which action figures they liked the best. They looked at the kids' faces as they saw the figures. And it was very, the things, the flash rates in some of these shows, the cartoon, you know, I had a cousin back in like 80, when were the Transformers big, third season, probably 88, 89. Mm-hmm. And he was sort of the Alex Jones before Alex Jones, because he was always like, he was a river guide, and, you know, he would this and that, and he would couch surf at our house from time to time. And so he'd be sitting there telling me how, you know, and it's kind of hard to take advice from somebody who's couch surfing, but at the same time, now that I look back, you know, he'd always talk about the flash rates. Don't you see what they're doing to you? And then I started realizing we had this old TV that I guess the speaker was blown, but every time Galvatron would shoot his cannon, you could see a special like light flicker. And there would be this noise, and then I would associate it. You would see it in other frames and other shots in the cartoons and other cartoons, and then other. And I was like, wait a minute, what is it? What's happening here when this light is going off? So, yeah. I mean, it's really crazy, the things here. Alex talked about the flicker rates, how they can, you know, with the screens. These are basically big LED screens that we're looking at. I mean,
there's that famous video of was it the sign-off screen of the 1960s where they play the national anthem, and it has the words at the bottom like, you know, oh say can you see, kind of stuff, and the letters flicker for like a split second, and it says government, God, you know, obey the government, that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh man.
I mean, it's and if you don't see it, I mean, it just goes into, and the eyes are the window to the soul, right? So, you know, I mean, it just goes in, and so we don't. I think what maybe the glasses, maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's your calling. You've got the experience. You need to find something that will, maybe just on the inside of your lenses, it just reads, "This is BS." That way, everything you see, nobody can see you. Yeah, but you're reading it. Everything you look at, you know that it's
some really cool sunglasses that when you wear them, it just blacks out all screens.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get some of those. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hey, before they get to the point where you're wearing the glasses, and then it's the augmented reality, which that stuff's pretty much nowadays. That broke with Tony Stark in 2008-9. So
I broke my mom's brain last week because so I heard about this movie Harrison Bergeron with Sean Astin from 1995. It kind of looks like a TV movie, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It's out of print. The only place I could find it was on eBay, and it's shipped from Germany. So I get it, and it's basically all about the second revolution has already happened, and everyone is equal because everyone's mediocre, and they all have to go to school, and they wear this headband, and if they're too intelligent, it zaps them with rays and stuff like that to make them stupider. And it's a whole society like this. He's too intelligent. He gets inducted into basically the Illuminati, the people who dictate who's the politicians and, who sets the rules and everything like that. And, we finished the movie. Mom's like, well, that movie was garbage. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I turned on, I think it was an MSNBC news article or whatever, where China has those headbands on. And she just goes, it's like a 5-minute report. And she's just like, oh, my God.
It's insane. It really is. And we talked about this in the last time we tried to record this episode, but with Facebook, they were sort of the architects, and Google with Dragonfly in China, the social credit scores. It's where are our protections? Where are the elected representatives? We're not a democracy. We're a republic. We're supposed to have strong elected, people who speak the will of the people. When the republic, when that elected representative starts voting, when he goes rogue, when he starts, working for the influences of, people who are, the special influence, the PACs, all of these things, when he's not listening to the people, I mean, this republic is gone. And that's what's happened. And we have allowed it to happen. Just like our money, I think we need to get to a point, like I said, where peacefully, non-violently, we say, look, if this is the best you can do, you're supposed to protect our freedoms. You're supposed to, look out for the general welfare. But you're doing none of these things. What good are you doing me? Why do I need to participate? Maybe I need to take your power back individually. And then if we do that all as individuals, then maybe we can have a true great reset, if that makes sense. I don't know.
That's definitely one thing. Even back in 2016, you could see our elected representatives, they weren't connected to culture whatsoever, at least in the way that we were all connected to all these superheroes and all these great ideas of, fighting the man and
sure.
Not doing that. So you could see it with Alex's banning and all that type of stuff. They didn't know what technology was. They didn't maybe they just did and didn't put on the front that they did, but they just let it go. They let it, continue and get bigger and bigger. And now you're seeing with people being elected today that are more our age, and there seems to be a little bit of a resurgence coming back of, American pride and that type of stuff. So the pendulum seems to be swinging a little bit in the other direction finally.
You mentioned Trump, and however you vote, whatever you feel, I mean, that's fine. But the last midterms we had, I got out, I knocked doors, I did a lot for the party that I thought was going to maybe stand up and be my best shot. I did a lot of knocking on doors. You know, and I got the same thing. I mean, you know, really being in the 3D world, Aaron, you know, we're all the same people. The majority of us aren't offended, you know, easily. The majority of us, you know, can talk to people without, you know, without losing their minds, you know. But we have to remember that as well. But you know, I got to see a lot of the executive committee meetings. I got to see a lot of things, and I spoke up. I said, look, you've got to find different ways to communicate with your base, because there are algorithms and they are censoring you, and you're spending money on these platforms and they're cranking you down while boosting your competitor, you know. And they looked at me like I was speaking some kind of just alien language. It just it just in one ear. I did have one guy who was running for, I believe, Senate maybe, and he was a former Special Forces. And after we met at a Golden Corral, and I gave my little speech to everybody, and you know, he came over and he shook my hand and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm just a guy who wants to get back to normal, and not the new normal." There wasn't even a new normal back then. So, dude, we just have to get out there and, you know, like I said, just be vocal any way we can. I'm going to make a hell of a lot of great memes, great comic strips. I'm going to get into it, and you know, you've really given me some great tools. This cuck light right here.
Definitely tag me.
But no, dude, it you know, we just really you know, we've got to get out there. I don't know how long the memes will last, because it'll be the likeness of Alex Jones or whatever. But hey, we'll make something happen. We'll get out there. But anything we didn't cover? Anything that anything you want to talk about? How do people get in touch with you? How do people support your art? One thing maybe I didn't ask. Have you were talking about some things? I'm just going to throw out there. Maybe doing an Alex Joker face. Maybe throw that in there. I think some people would buy those heads. You know. But
although I have 6 heads of Alex already, so I'd have to up the price if anyone ordered that extra.
I got you. Hey,
I've already got like the 6 heads. He comes with the megaphone. He comes with the gay frog, awesome. Which is amazing. Awesome. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, you know, working with all this type of stuff. If you want to, if anyone listening wants to go to my stuff, my website's shop.braintreestudios.com. That you can find t-shirts, prints. I'm selling 3D files too. If anyone's out there who wants, you know, to 3D print some stuff, I have the heads up there of all the stuff I've been working on. Or you can commission me to do, you know, custom stuff. Yeah.
And for anybody who might want to just buy a head and think they can slap some paint on it, it really is an art. He'll end up looking very aged because you're going to cake it on. Let Aaron do it for you. He's, you know, I mean, you know, the eyes, they're not googly. They look fantastic.
I got the fancy Japanese little brush for the eyeballs.
I got you. But yeah, dude, you do amazing work. Anything else you want to add? Anything that you wanted that we didn't cover? Anything you want to say?
Just thanks for having me on. While I did lose all my, you know, friends over the past few years with the Trump support and, you know, the pandemic and all that, it's definitely been heartening to meet more people like-minded, you know, that actually see reality for what it is and not this crazy twisted crap that it's become, this 1984, you know, 5 minutes hate nonsense. So yeah, it's been a ride. This past year has been crazy.
Well, at some point, if they haven't seen it already, I have a feeling that your friends are going to find there's going to be some newfound respect for you know, what you've done in the past. You know, I think at some point it's not going to be just Alex Jones was right. It was everybody who went out and gave a damn and said something. So my hat's off to you for that. Aaron, thank you for coming on. I'm going to in post add a few of my photos and things to the exit there. But I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll do it again. Looks like we made it through this time. So, but really appreciate you having me, and everybody check him out, support his work, and pick up some figures, put them on your wall. It gets addictive, and hey, at least it's not crack. So thanks for coming on, Aaron.
Thanks for having me.
Purple shrines on our head, phenobarbital makes us dead. To heaven's gate we will go, to climb aboard
for God, for country, for truth, for justice, for the Republic. You're listening to the Powder Monkey Podcast on PirateInfoWars.com.